Good morning, Sheila. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Wayne. I'm great. How are you doing today?
I couldn't get today out.
I know I tried to fill it in for you.
Well, thank you. And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world
Mm.
of verbs and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways verbs shape our language and influence our interactions as we attempt to make a positive difference in our world, one verb at a time. And this is episode number 92.
Awesome.
Yes, go you, go
Go
us.
us.
Yes. And Sheila, how can our listeners find you?
Oh, thank you for asking. I'm at zekeandsheila@yahoo.com.
And my email address is wayne at mindsinking.com. And as always, I don't need to say it, but send
Go
them
ahead,
to
say
me and
it.
send the other ones to Sheila.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that,
Okay.
Wayne.
All right. And do we have
Today's
a Twitter?
word,
Today's word. Oh, what's today's word?
to refine. Today's verb is to refine.
To refine. Ooh, okay. And what did you find out about refine?
I have two definitions here. The first is to become pure or perfected, and the second is to improve something by making small changes to make it more subtle or accurate.
Okay. And I only have three, but they're all similar to what you just said.
Okay.
To make something pure or improve something, especially by removing unwanted material.
Okay.
Number two is to improve an idea, method, system, etc., by making small changes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is to become more fine, elegant, or polished.
Ah, okay.
Yes. And when we talked about refine was going to be our verb for today, what were your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts initially? Where'd you go?
My very first thought was refining gold.
Ah,
And then my second thought was refining a writing project or a research paper.
oh,
How about you?
okay. Well, when I pulled refine out of the jar, my mind started racing, and I thought, oh wow, this is going to be it. Wait, and then it went off in so many directions, and I thought, okay, let me grab the word back here, and let's pull it back. Let's go slowly here. So I quickly um, s- said, okay, I need to steer clear of my friend Jennifer Milius's my book because we talk about that a lot. And so I
Yes.
quickly hit the internet thinking it's going to distract me and started searching for articles and papers about refine. And as you can imagine, I saw hits on the screen talking about refining sugar, refining crude oil,
Oh,
refining
right.
metal. And I thought, okay, I don't think I want to go in that direction. So those didn't excite me. So I continued my search, and then refining skills fell before me, and eureka, I was there.
All right.
So I said, oh, refining skills. Okay, let's do that. And so that's where I ended up. I kind of,
Perfect.
yes, went down that road.
Hey, you were going to ask about a trivia question, and I rudely interrupted you, but I have one here.
Do you?
I'd have one here to answer at the end of the show.
And what might it be?
What scientist, known as the father of modern physics and the inventor of calculus, also believed in the philosopher's stone, which was a way to change alloys like lead into gold?
Huh.
So, who was that person? And I'll
Who was
answer that
that?
at the end of the show. Right,
Who was that guy? Okay.
right, right.
Now, you took chemistry, didn't you,
I did.
in college? I didn't take chemistry until really late, but
Okay.
you know, what happens when oxygen meets magnesium? OMG.
Boo. I mean, yay.
Yeah. Starting off with the little stupid dad jokes here.
All right.
Okay.
OMG. I'm going to
Yes.
be thinking about that all day.
Oh no. Okay.
Okay.
And and so where did your research take you, Sheila? How about you starting us off? Or do you want me to start? I don't care.
I'll just start off. I want to briefly talk about refining gold
Hmm.
because I had an experience a couple years ago. My father graduated from West Point, which is the United States Military Academy, and all of the students received a gold graduation ring. And
Ah.
many, many years after his death, my mother was very distressed about what to do with his ring. Um,
Hmm.
she had a miniature ring made for her wedding ring that looked just like his, but she had a lot of kids and grandkids. How would she ever, decide who should have it and what would anyway? She learned about a program that West Point has where you can donate your ring to their memorial program. They will melt it down, and the gold from that ring will be used in the making of all the rings in the future. It'll all
No
be mixed up
kidding.
with the gold to be made for future students' graduations, with the bulk of it going to the current class that's graduating into their gold graduation rings. So they had a lovely ceremony, and I actually got to watch the ring all of the donated rings that year being melted together. Using the heat method, there are a couple methods you can use to refine gold, and then got to meet some of the class members of that year who would be receiving the rings that
Oh.
included my dad's ring
Uh, well,
medal.
I thank him for his service.
Thank you.
I really do. It's an honor to thank individuals who have done that. And
Hmm.
a lot of people don't understand when one joins the military, they sign a blank check to America
And their families.
and their
Yeah,
families.
yeah,
Yes, and that
yeah.
blank check, when they, wow. But we thank him for his service.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely,
Thank Appreciate that,
absolutely.
Wayne. Yeah.
Yes. And so what that means is all of the all of the seniors who will be graduating
Hmm.
are getting a piece of or
Yes.
a connection to all of those who
Yes.
went before them.
Yes.
That's very
Yes.
cool.
It's a beautiful program. Yeah. And
That is
it's
very nice.
so respectful and appreciative. Yeah. But so that's where I was thinking about refining gold. And you can use a chemical method to refine gold, or you can use, the high heat, neither of which should be done at home, as it turns out. So, and the high heat method, you can also use electricity for that. So,
Really?
but for centuries, people have been trying to find ways to make gold from other products, as in the trivia question there. So going way, way back. So,
Okay.
so what I learned in that, I'll just touch on this topic, and then I want to hear what you have to say. I learned about the scientific method as people were trying to turn other substances into gold. An accidental byproduct of that effort was to come up with glass beakers for distillation, which was used for perfumes and whiskey,
Hmm.
um, new creation of new alloys, manufacture of acids and pigments that were used for other purposes, and the template for the scientific method. And that gets me back to refine, because ultimately using the scientific method to refine ourselves to make this world a more positive place. So
Ah.
that's what I'll get to further on down the road here. But where did you go with this?
Okay. Well, I certainly did not go down the metals or the crude oil or the sugar route.
Okay.
But I did go. I did look to see if there were any common themes or concepts that I had studied and learned over the years
Yeah.
about skills and skill sets.
Okay.
And one of these articles jumped into my lap, and it's by Gus Robertson. He says there are 5 ways to refine your leadership skills,
Aha.
and this was on Forbes. And I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting." So I did a lot
Yeah.
of reading, and let me tell you, it was a long article, but I pulled the things that the 5 ways out. His
Good.
first one, he said, was authenticity. To refine your leadership skills using authenticity. And I said,
Hmm.
that's pretty cool because we are all unique. And it reminded me, and I said this before, it reminded me of those little post-it notes that I saw sprinkled throughout the neighborhood once when
Hmm.
I was walking, that I think it was a elementary school class project where they posted sticky notes all over the neighborhood so that people could see them. And I remember this one just stood out, and it said, "Be yourself because everybody else is taken."
I like it.
And I thought authenticity says that it particularly well. And so he says, okay, one of the 5 ways to refine your leadership skill is be authentic. And I
Okay.
thought, yes, of course. Gosh. He said number 2 was adaptive capacity.
Mm,
And I thought adaptive capacity, ooh, that really sounds intriguing. What exactly is
right.
adaptive capacity? I thought I kind of knew what it was, and as I read, I was right. And he speaks about adaptive capacity is about understanding yourself and why you're making the decision you feel is right for your company, even if the decision is an uncomfortable one.
Mm,
And he said he's made some tough decisions throughout his time, but
mm,
as he did that, he said you have to be clear on the direction and vision beyond or
mm,
behind those decisions,
mhm,
and you're setting yourself up for again and again. He says if you're pretending, and I thought this was particularly important,
mhm,
if you're pretending to be someone you're not, you may not learn from an experience and know how to react the next time better.
mm, hmm.
And I thought, okay, when I was in the military, I was in the Air Force, and they taught us that flexibility was the key to air power. I see flexibility and adaptive capacity as the same thing.
Gotcha.
And so I
Yes,
thought, oh, that's kind of cool.
that makes sense.
Yes. So those are the first 2. I will get to the other 3, but I will go to you for your next thought.
Well, first I have some quotes.
Oh, we
Quotes.
like quotes. Yes.
And this kind of talks a little bit about the direction I think both of us are going here, which is using principles to refine our leadership capacity, our personal life, our decisions and choices. So these quotes add to that also. The first one is Roy L. Smith, a clergyman, who said, "Discipline is the refining fire by which talent becomes ability."
Oh,
So I really liked that, both
I
because it
like that.
made me think of the gold ring and also um, talent. So H. Jackson Brown Jr. said, "Let let's see if I can read my own handwriting. Let the refining and improving of your life keep you so busy you have little time to criticize others."
Mm.
Every time I look in a mirror, I see the real problem in a situation.
Oh,
So, okay, finally, a judge, Raymond Kethledge, said, "While driving to work, I'll choose to think about a particular subject rather than just have random thoughts stream landing on one subject or another. For example, I might think about the structure of an opinion, or I might think about the first sentence of an opinion, refining it. And I that one particularly caught my attention because what do I do when I'm walking the dog so many hours every day?
uh,
Am I thinking constructive, positive, forward thinking thoughts, or am I just reviewing the movie I saw on TV last night? So it was just food for thought, I would say.
okay. I like those. Yes. I, I,
Okay.
partic- I particularly like the one about the fire and desire and all those kinds of things.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Yes.
Yes. That's
And
cool.
that leads itself to what you're going to talk about next, right?
Well, it sort of does because number 3 on what's this gentleman's name? Gus, on Gus's art in Gus's
Okay.
article, he says number 3 is to trust. And I'm thinking, okay. And he said, in my experience, the single most often forgotten element in building trust is communicating the intentions behind your actions or decisions. And so, as you said, with the burning, the melting, the smelting, if you will,
Hmm.
of the gold into this one huge vat, and then making the other little pieces of
Hmm.
gold for future students to wear,
Hmm.
um, is kind of trusting that they are going to at least think that the ring that I have on has gone before me in
Hmm.
so many different ways, views, and decisions,
Hmm.
and I hope that's going to make them trust the fact that, wow, they have a huge responsibility
Hmm.
because as leaders, we lead people into sometimes good situations and sometimes bad situations.
Hmm.
But we have to trust ourselves. And going back to what Gus said earlier, being authentic, adaptive capacity, and trust, they all combine. And I thought those were really, really well done. He says, building the right culture. Okay, and going back to your dad being in the from West Point, the
Hmm.
U.S. military academy, they're building a culture there, aren't they?
Absolutely.
And I think as we go, I'm not sure. I don't care if we're in IBM. I don't care if we're in which Hewlett Packard, I don't care which
Hmm.
organization, there is an overarching, I think, culture that exudes what that brand, what that name, what that
Right.
product is. Although there are many cultures within cultures, but
Right.
there's that one culture. And so, yeah, building the right culture, I thought that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And the last thing he said was mutual accountability. And this is refining our leadership skills, mutual accountability. And I really enjoyed that because, again, not quoting Jennifer Milius in my book,
Hmm.
but paraphrasing from our book, we talk about mutual accountability all throughout our book. And
Hmm.
mutual accountability, what we say accountability is one has to be answerable
Hmm.
to whomever. If I'm holding you accountable, that means I'm holding you answerable if things go awry,
Hmm.
or if things go well. How did you get there? What'd you do?
That's a
And
good point. Both ways. Both ways.
exactly, it's a bi-directional kind of a thought process. So I liked that. Trust, building the right culture, mutual accountability, authenticity, and the last one being adaptive capacity. Go Gus.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm putting adaptive capacity into my list of new terms I want to reflect on and maybe use again in the future.
Oh, okay. I like that. And my list is still there. It's growing. It's
Okay.
it's not growing as fast because you're not coming
No,
up with new words for me yet.
no, sorry. I'll work on that.
That's okay. And where did you go next?
Well, next, I wanted to drill down into the scientific method because it's a way of refining a concept, a scientific principle, or any kind of principle. Because in fact, you can use this technique in business, in science, in psychology, in mathematics, in any capacity. And I realized that I've adapted some of these tools to talking, to thinking about, and reflecting on problems that I want to get through in my life.
Hmm.
And so basically, it's making an observation and researching what's already known about that uh, idea or fact, and then forming a hypothesis, making a prediction,
Hmm.
conducting an experiment to test the hypothesis, analyzing the data and drawing conclusions, and then communicating the results to others. These are not unlike some of the steps you just talked about if you break them down. But the
They,
example, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
no, they absolutely. I
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
The example I want to give on, I love this so much, and how I've used it in my personal life is to, I may have spoken about this on a previous podcast where I'm a scuba diver, and I had a bad dive one day. I was a little bit panicked. I felt like I couldn't catch my breath. I just wanted to get back to the surface. And afterwards, I sat there and I just had to think for a while without any distraction about what happened. I'm, I observed, made an observation. I thought about everything I know about what I did wrong. I came up with a couple things I wanted to do differently, made a plan for that. The next dive, I tested those things and it worked out very well. So I felt like I was applying this to make at least my little corner of my world that day a better place. And it worked.
Excellent. Excellent. That kind of reminds me. I like to use the concept of, as leaders,
Hmm.
we need to stop, listen, think, and then act. And that's exactly what you did.
Yes,
I
yes,
find it works. It really does. It really
yes.
does. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, there are some situations where you have to be a little bit quicker than stop, think.
When that shark is swimming over your right shoulder,
Exactly. This is not the time
stopping
to
and listening, not so much the best first technique.
exactly. What did he say? With
Chomp.
all those 2,000 teeth, yeah, chomp. Yes. Yes. Gosh. It's funny, because my next article, and it's written by Monique Valcourt, and she says anyone can learn to become a leader. And her first thought is on that is something that you've said twice now. You said you looked in the mirror and saw the problem. And then you also said problems in my life. Here's what she says: start with the problem.
Hate that mirror.
think you saw my writings here. I think wow, it's almost like you looked over my shoulder. I
Chomp.
know. I hate the mirror too. I look in the mirror once and go, "Who is that guy?" And go, "Oh, it's me. Oh, wow, I've changed."
Yeah.
Her second thing is she says, "Articulate why it's important to you now." So again, you said you were kind of panicking. You were
Right.
wanted to go to the surface, and so articulate why it's important to you now to solve this problem or figure out the problem. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is so cool. You just said everything in her article that she wrote about. I think that's pretty cool.
Cool. Very
Yes.
cool.
What do you have for us?
Well, finally, although I'm keeping an eye on the time, but I'm hoping you are even better than I am.
We have
I
20 minutes and 30 seconds
oh,
so far, so we're
piece of
good.
cake. Piece of cake.
Yes.
Basically, the goal was refining my life, improving,
Mm.
fine tuning. I'm an overthinker in general. And so when I think about refining my life, I have to stop and say my destination is not to be perfect, but to strive toward perfection, but
Ah.
not to expect myself to be perfect right now. So the secret really in the fine tuning is to not try to plunge in and change everything at once. I read all sorts of headlines about books and courses you can take to quote unquote refine your life, where you can pay lots of money and look at everything from head to toe. But I'm really better if I just try to fine tune one thing at a time. If, like my morning routine. Do I go through the closet bleary eyed and pull clothes out that I think are going to be temperature appropriate? Or do the night before I look at the thermometer and plan ahead? So I have in this latest season of my life been a more impulse oriented, but I want to fine tune that and be more plan oriented, more
Okay.
thoughtful, seeking to improve myself.
I know I walk my neighborhood almost every day, and as I walk, as you said, I jump up, put my clothes on that I'm going to
Hmm.
use for walking, and
Hmm.
I head outside. And the other day, I was walking in shorts and a
Hmm.
t-shirt,
Hmm.
and I passed about 3 or 4 individuals that I know that I see constantly every time I walk. And they're all bundled with parkas and they've got these head mufflers, ear mufflers on, and these hats and gloves and I look at myself and I go, should I be wearing that?
What did your body tell you?
And as I walk by this one house and this gentleman is outside, sometimes he's outside, other times as I pass by, and that particular morning he says, "Aren't you cold?" And I looked at him and go, "Not yet."
Good.
I was sweating, and then I passed other people, and they're driving in their vehicles, and I'm sure they got their heaters on, but they're bundled in their big poofy jackets, looking like the Michelin Man. Again, I'm thinking, it it must be cold. I guess I shouldn't be out here doing this in dressed like I am. So I don't know. Again, looking at Monique's article,
Yes.
start with the problem.
I think in that case, the problem was your neighbors went by the temperature, not by how it felt.
I think it went by the time of year and the temperature
Yes.
hadn't matched.
Yes.
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 And
Yes.
so her third thing is seek quality information to base your approach on.
Ah,
And I thought, okay, quality information. I'm seeing all of these indicators from people other than myself that's saying it's cold, but my body's saying it ain't cold.
you just have to know who to trust.
There we go. And sometimes the decision is might be an unpopular decision or not with
Oh,
the
yeah.
majority.
That's
And
it.
today or that day, my mind was not with the majority. I go, no, it's not cold enough for me to dress like that. So I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. Anyway, her next one says identify measures of success. And then she says, ground yourself with an intention. And she goes on to say, choose behaviors to implement and share your experience. And I'll stop there. I have a few more, but I'll stop there and I will pause and let you pick up your side.
The last thing I wanted to touch on was refining research project papers or writing. And I actually was going to ask you about your experience with this because you have written a book. But I find revision and refining is very challenging for me because I don't like to go back and read what I've written. But
Mm,
I liked the way this author, this is from the Kansas State Library Research Guide, the way they explained it. And it was just creative enough that made me think, okay, that's better. When you're making big changes, when you first lay your outline, you're making big changes. That's called changing the bones.
mm,
When you're just rearranging paragraphs, adding or deleting ideas that don't fit in well with the overall theme, that's called changing the muscles. And when
okay.
you're proofreading it and refining it and looking for misspellings and grammar, that's called changing the skin.
All
So
right.
this analogy was weird enough that I thought it could capture my imagination. And maybe when I'm revising, reviewing, and refining, it won't be such an arduous project.
Ah, all right. And and you're right. I struggle with edit too.
Okay.
And really, I when I sat down to write the book with my friend Jennifer
Hmm.
Milius,
Hmm.
I I took no pride in authorship. And so we could just go in and slash and grab and throw
Ah,
out and
nice.
what
Good.
and it didn't affect me.
Good.
Now I will say this, if she's listening, she did take out one thing that I wanted in
Ugh.
there. And I know she's laughing now, or she's gonna smack me if she sees me. And I thought, wow, that's the one thing, that's the most important thing I wanted to say in this book, and it's gone. So
Oh,
okay, I'm
do
done.
do we have time for you to say it now, or is that a
No,
future
no, 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 no,
podcast?
no, no.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we have 26 minutes and 30, we have 26:39, so we're almost at
Okay.
the end here.
Okay.
But I will say this, looking at some more of what Monique said, and I'm not going to get them all, but
Mm,
she said to choose behaviors to implement, share your experience, seek feedback, review and celebrate progress. And I enjoy that. But
mhm,
something that you just hit on, and you said better, you used the word better. And what Jennifer and I did say in our book, and what we suggest throughout with the refinement
mhm,
in mind,
mhm.
is you should be getting better at being better.
Mm,
And I will end my side with that.
that's lovely. And I
Okay.
will just answer a the trivia question. The
Yes.
father of modern physics, inventor of calculus, and seeker of the philosopher's stone was Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton. Wow.
That's who
Didn't
you
even
were
think of
thinking.
him.
You
Didn't
didn't?
even think of
Okay.
him.
Well,
No.
there you go.
Okay. All right. Sheila, thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate your time and the subject.
And I as well. Would you take us home, please?
We appreciate also folks who are listening to us. Thank you. And we look forward to talking to you next week. And thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Sheila. Bye bye.